the Nashville Soccer Show. It is 104.5 The Zone. October playoff soccer right around the corner. Alongside Lucas Panzica and Davey Shepard, I'm Will Bowling. Nashville SC falls to Philadelphia over the weekend. They got the worst team in American professional sports, which just so happens to be their biggest rival, coming up tomorrow. Plus, our concern level, not only for Ake Loba in his second start, but for the entire team after a disappointing performance on Saturday. Gentlemen, great to see you. Davey, how are you?
Doing good, buddy. Glad to be here. Big weekend coming up for Nashville SC. The last couple of results, not the way the fans at home would have liked them to go. But listen, I think there's not necessarily the room for concern that some people are showing. So I'm interested to talk through that. And listen, if you're out there, I know you expect a sterling quality level from us, but you got to cut Will a little slack tonight. We got World Series baseball on in the studio, and he's been waiting a long time for this one. So just a little bit of grace out there will go a long way. We appreciate it.
If you are like an inside baseball, pun intended, fan of this show, like a diehard fan of this show, and you've seen me just staring off into the distance and just like slam this counter in front of me before, it's because I'm always watching Braves baseball.
That's happened for regular season games.
That's correct. Oh, no, usually. We say hello as well to Lucas Panzica, who is celebrating a birthday today.
Our
Lucas,
birthday boy.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you. Wouldn't want to finish it any other way.
Yeah, you started it with me on a high school football podcast at 7:30 this morning. Now, fast forward, quick math, 13 and a half hours, and here we are again.
Yeah, you've bookended my birthday today. I fully expect in honor of that, it will be a full-on AC Milan breakdown of the win today over Torino and a line-by-line positional breakdown. But no, man, it's October. I mean, the month before MLS playoffs. That's what it's known for, right? It's October. It means we're close to MLS playoffs. I don't think there's anything else really big going on right now in the month of October, so...
Yeah, nothing. I mean, not no kind of World Series baseball. Nothing. No, definitely not. 104.5 The Zone TV is where you can interact with the show. Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitter. Coming up today, guys, Cincinnati is really bad at the sport of football. Like, really, really bad. They've lost 9 games in a row. We're going to take a deep dive into tomorrow's matchup. Plus, guys, we prefaced a couple of weeks ago that it was going to be fascinating and hilarious for us as non-Manchester United fans to watch Ole Gunnar Solskjaer ruin Cristiano Ronaldo. So far, returns are good. But returns also might be good for Manchester United fans because now they can just rip off the bandage and fire him sooner rather than later. But, guys, let's begin with the matchup over the weekend. Nashville SC falling to the Philadelphia Union. It is one of those fluky handballs that is probably the right call that they end up losing this one on. But let's start with the offense, guys. This was never really in doubt for Philadelphia for me at 1-0. And until Nashville SC proves that they can break down a team like that on the road that's good once they go down a goal, they've done that a lot at home. I need to see it on the road because I felt like Nashville is not a threat going forward at all in this game.
Yeah, there's a few decent chances, but nothing like substantial, no sustained pressure. I didn't think that you really thought, oh, this is building. Maybe a little bit against the run of play. There were some opportunities. Yeah, tough one. And look, I'll say this. I think it's really hard to say a 1-0 loss at Philly without Hani Mukhtar, without Daniel Rios, for a large portion of the game is a really, really bad result.
Correct. Not a bad result at all.
And so now it's easy to look at it in context of where we're at right now. I think it was 6 draws in a row and then a loss.
You are winless in 6 now.
Okay, winless in 6 now. There you go. Yep. So I get the snowball, and people are starting to get frustrated. People are worried. I've seen a weird amount of questioning Jacobs and Gary over social media the last couple of days. And I mean, I get it. And we can go into this deeper. We'll get Lucas's thoughts off the game too, but I get it in sports that once the bar is raised, it stays there. I think that's probably the best thing about sports. Like, fans have expectations, and it's almost like give a mouse a cookie. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but you give fans quality play and good results, and the expectation is quality play and good results.
Right.
Nashville isn't living up to that right now, that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
they've done a lot of good this season. They've built on a good first season, and I still think they're in fine shape for the playoffs. Got to see some things short up, but we'll talk about that more. Lucas, your thoughts on Philly?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo what Gary Smith said after the game. I think you've seen Nashville have to become too reliant on Hani Mukhtar and CJ Sapong to create offensive production for this team, which is more of a concern when Daniel Rios goes down. You don't really know his status going forward. And Ake Loba, I thought, had virtually no impact in that game. And so the best teams in this league, and just to go build off what you said, the best teams, the championship contending teams in this league, are able to rely on other pieces when they're going to give a guy a break or a guy needs to be subbed off or whatever it might be. They're able to rely on other pieces to create and not have everything focused in on one Hani Mukhtar type. Most teams in this league don't have that luxury, and that's fine, but Nashville SC has played at a championship contending level for large portions of this season, so therefore that is the expectation, exactly like you're saying, which is why it's concerning that it feels like they are too reliant on those two players, that when they are in form, this team can score with anybody in the league, and I'm confident of that. But when they're not, there's not really an answer there.
But look, I'll say this. I think what's been very clear over the course of the last couple of months is that the person that Gary Smith relies on is Daniel Rios.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes out injured in that game, which has unfortunately been kind of the story of the season for Rios. He's missed a lot of minutes to injury. And how much different does this whole season look if Daniel Rios doesn't have soft tissue issues to start the season? Do we even sign Ake Loba? Is the Cadiz thing solved way sooner when Rios is getting those?
Sure.
I think so much changes kind of on a dime there if Daniel Rios is healthier to start the season, but that isn't the case. We don't know his status yet. We'll get an injury report before the Friday game. There was not one today. And so, listen, I think that's the guy he relies on. It's not Ake Loba yet. Now, I think you got to see more out of Ake Loba. Ben Wright had a great thread, which I'm sure we'll talk through at some point today, earlier on, Ake Loba's minutes and concerns and all of that type of stuff. But Daniel Rios hurts. That hurts losing him because CJ Sapong's got to come back in, and we talked about this all summer. CJ Sapong is going to hit a wall. We said that over and over and over. He's hit the wall. He has hit the wall now. So, somebody's got to score the goals. That's absolutely right, Lucas.
Ben has just texted us, by the way, that Daniel Rios and Dax McCarty are out for tomorrow.
Thank you, Benny boy.
Okay. That's a big development for tomorrow, and y'all's immediate takeaway was also Gary Smith's immediate takeaway coming out of this game, saying at the moment, far too reliant on CJ and Hani, saying that Ake Loba had a chance to make an impact and couldn't, as well as Abu Danladi and Randall Leal, who he said had a mostly positive match. Guys, let's start with Ake Loba because he certainly did not have the impact that we were expecting or that we were hoping for when we talk about when is he going to get a chance and when will he have the opportunity to be at his best. We're probably next season away from seeing Ake Loba at his best at this point. Touched the ball 21 times in 61 minutes, finding the ball twice in the penalty area. Did have one chance that was stopped by Andre Blake, but no huge high-danger opportunities. And, guys, the reason why Ake Loba earned this opportunity, outside of Hani Mukhtar's yellow card accumulation, was because of the run he made in behind to set up Hani Mukhtar's goal against Columbus. That run in behind the lines, flicking it back, Hani gets it and scores. We didn't see any of that on Saturday from Ake Loba. Everything was playing to his feet, trying to create with guys in front of him with the ball. I would rather see someone else be the focal point of the attack and have Ake Loba running in behind. It's almost like Ake Loba was playing the Hani Mukhtar role, but he doesn't fit the Hani Mukhtar role. He fits a little bit closer. I mean, there's no one really, I think, in Nashville SC's team that fits the skill set where Ake Loba can be his best. Your best chance to see the best of Ake Loba is 60 minutes gone, needing a goal. You throw him on like you did against Columbus, and you end up getting a goal because of the way that he facilitated the attack, playing behind the lines. That's what I want to see more out of him. I didn't feel like we saw enough of him trying to create space for everybody else. I feel like this is a guy that was pressing a little bit to try to earn a spot versus just doing what got him to that point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't take a ton of issue with that kind of breakdown of the game. I say this, I said it on Twitter after the game. It's kind of what I've said the whole time with Ake Loba. I need to see him on the field with Hani Mukhtar for large portions of time before I'm willing to make any sort of grand judgment about him as a player.
Yeah.
And so, you know who else looked bad the other day? Randall Leal. He didn't look good at all.
Right.
I mean, he did more, he was more on the ball, but his position requires him to be more on the ball. So, like, I don't know, man. CJ Sapong didn't look nearly as good as he's looked at moments with Hani Mukhtar. So, I think it was a pretty mediocre performance from the whole team against a very good opponent with some very big injuries at a really important time in the season. I think it's unfortunate, but I think there's a lot of people taking a lot from that performance on Hani Mukhtar. Not what anyone wants to see. I was not thrilled with the performance, but I just don't know how much is actually there to take out of it.
I think not yesterday. I think Saturday may have been the best case for Hani Mukhtar to win MVP of MLS. I mean, seriously.
When you're talking about literally what it stands for, right? Most valuable player.
Look at how
Which is
different.
an argument across every sport, every season, right? Like, do we actually give the award to the person that is actually the most valuable person?
It's funny because it's kind of the opposite for Derrick Henry, right? Derrick Henry has probably his worst game of the season. They waxed the 2-time-in-a-row Super Bowl finalists, guys who won 2 years ago, and it's like, well, maybe this MV King thing was a bit premature, you know? But the Hani Mukhtar, it's the exact opposite. He's out of the game. I'm going to get shellacked for that from the Titans fans out there. I'm just waiting on
Hey, but
Twitter
it's a
right
quarterback award, and he threw a touchdown
pass.
pass. What are we doing? Oh, goodness.
But my worry is, or I guess at this point, it's almost the expectation. Best case scenario for Ake Loba, to me, at the end of this season, is he helps them win a game in the postseason, right? Best case from what we've seen so far, which is disappointing given what he was brought in for, to add an immediate boost when you don't bring somebody in mid-season to develop them for the following year. You bring them in for a boost for what is needed in the short term, right? And then the rest will develop at however it will. But that's the disappointing part, that we're sitting here at the end of October saying best case scenario, he helps them win a playoff game maybe, in November, which is not why he was brought in. He was brought in to be that relief when Nashville does have tired legs in an attack that has been so productive at times this season and has started to thin out a little bit.
1045 The Zone TV is where you can join us: Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitter. Guys, when we come back, we continue to react to everything that happened or what didn't happen for Nashville SC against Philadelphia, plus a little bit of reaction as well on Columbus. Didn't get to react to that one yet since that was a Wednesday game last week. And we dive in to a big matchup tomorrow and how Nashville SC can help Cincinnati create a little bit of history. That's coming up next, right here on the Nashville Soccer Show on 1045 The Zone.
Buck Rising is at every Titans game and gives it to you straight each and every week.
This is an onion. We're going to peel it back layer by layer, piece by piece.
The Buck Rising Show. Tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on 1045 The Zone.
It's the Nashville Soccer Show on 104.5 The Zone. I pity anyone who is listening on podcasts and cannot hear the glorious sounds of the tomahawk chop right now. Somewhere Bill Plaschke is pissed. 104.5 The Zone TV. Come hang out with us in the chat. Will Bowling, Davey Shepard, Lucas Panziga with you. I am frantically tweeting and reading Braves injury news while we talk about Nashville SC. Two teams making playoff pushes. One at the peak right now, and one coming off a pretty disappointing result over the weekend against Philadelphia. Guys, we mentioned this off the top. I want to get into Cincinnati here in a little bit about how bad they are and how this has to be not even just a win, but just a dominant win for Nashville SC tomorrow. But one thing I did not mention yet, a congratulations in order to a friend of the show, Taylor Washington. 100 appearances for Nashville SC.
Pretty remarkable,
at the USL and MLS levels. The guy continues to evolve, to adapt. He is, I mean, he's got to be up there for, between the two clubs, Gary's favorite player he's ever had, first and foremost. So congratulations to Taylor Washington, a terrific achievement. He will be on the list of Nashville SC trivia questions for years to come, along with Ropapa Mensah's first ever goal in the exhibition against Atlanta.
He's the first ever team guest on Speedway Soccer as
really?
well. He was, came down to the old studio at Alley Taps and did an interview with us. Also, just like the nicest guy on the planet.
Yeah,
So,
had him on the
I mean,
Nashville Soccer Show not that long
Yeah,
ago.
had him on a few weeks ago.
He was our first guest and our last guest.
Yeah, so he's a great guy. No, couldn't happen to a better dude. And look, talk about a guy who's kind of punched above his weight, right? I mean, he came in, he was one of those guys on the USL roster that, hey, didn't necessarily pan out on an MLS team and really took advantage of that start. And I think one of the great things of what USL does, you talk about these guys who aren't getting minutes on this Nashville Soccer Club side, Lali Pinheiro and Wallabuana, some of these other guys. Next year when MLS has to field its own two sides, and those teams are playing in their own competition, that's really, really going to help out that problem because all those guys are going to get more minutes, and you'll see more guys like Taylor Washington make it into first teams in MLS, which is great. So
cool for him to hit that milestone too, Will. I heard your brother and John Freeman saying against Philadelphia Union, who drafted him in 2016,
right.
never really got his shot. So for that carryover from USL to MLS and to play his position too, Daniel Rios is kind of in that same boat as a goal scorer. But I think for Washington's position, for how much ground he covers up and down the field and how important his speed is, just makes it that much more impressive for him to be able to keep that level of play at this level. And he's gotten starting opportunities. He's played a key role off the bench. So, yeah, well deserved.
that being said, as much as we love the guy, this team misses Lovitz right now.
Yeah, they do.
Big time. And I was watching the other day, and it's funny. You think, man, this team's missing Hani. It stood out just to me as much to me, like the fact that Lovitz wasn't in that game, just how much he creates out of the left, his ability to get inside. He's a remarkable player. It's really easy to, I think, kind of take your eye off of him and say, take for granted the performances you got out of Dan Lovitz over the last couple of years. This team needs him healthy for the rest of this season. Not listed as out tomorrow per Ben, just McCarty and Rio, so that's good to know for sure.
Speaking of Lovitz, totally off topic, but I don't know if you guys have seen Between Two Pipes yet.
Yeah, really
with
fun.
Alex Moyle. Phenomenal. And apparently it was all off the cuff.
Extremely well done.
Hat tip. Very, very, very well done.
Absolutely.
Check that out on Nashville's Twitter account if you haven't yet, at Nashville SC, Between Two Pipes.
So tomorrow, the ways Nashville SC can clinch a playoff spot, strap in. There's a lot here. And Nashville win over Cincinnati is the first step tomorrow in clinching a playoff spot in as many years. And then one of the next scenarios, NYCFC draw against Chicago or loss. Orlando draw or loss against Columbus. Atlanta draw or loss against Inter Miami. Red Bulls loss or draw against DC United. So that is the viewing guide for tomorrow's matchup with Cincinnati, where Nashville SC is winless in its last 6, but they could not be getting Cincinnati at the better time to end that stretch, since he has lost 9 straight. Guys, I'd be more worried about this game if Nashville had won over the weekend. Honestly, it's the same thing we talk about with the Titans, to make another Titans analogy. Like, they play to the level of their opponents when things are going well and when things are going to the script. But go back to the 5-1 over
DC.
Over DC. You had the
Miami.
shellacking of Miami
Yeah.
when they needed it.
Yeah.
They need this one. So go get it.
Yeah. And again, I've said the same thing for a few weeks in a row. Like, and again, people love to throw out must win. I go through this all the time, right? We do it every week. But when Gary's actually in those scenarios where he's got to have the result, I feel like I trust him. And I trust his team. I trust Hani Mukhtar. So, yeah, I believe in this team and their ability to take care of business. And that Cincinnati team is bad, man. I mean, I know you've got like a textbook's worth of material on how bad they are.
Really bad.
Yeah, they are so bad. And I think your brother had on a guest this morning, right? Brad Weigel from
Yes.
Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I just saw the clip. I wasn't able to listen yet.
I just know we get a shout out at the end.
Oh, there you go. I hadn't
think
heard
more
that.
you than me.
Hilarious. I don't know why, but that's funny. I'll have to tune in for sure.
Well, I
now.
mean, we give him shout outs.
We give him shout outs,
too,
yeah, all the
so.
time. Right, exactly. So, but
haven't
no,
listened to any of
it was just listen to Weigel, who's a very nice guy. I was on one of the Cincinnati shows a while ago, and just talking about how poorly ran that team is. And he's saying, hey, look, like, we're kind of a group of amateurs. We started this to cover the USL team, much like us over at Speedway Soccer.
Sure.
And he's like, and we're sitting here going through, hey, how wrong are these guys getting this roster build? And it's like, we're guys who were covering a minor league soccer team, and we know the mistakes you're making. But you're the there was just no one there with MLS experience, and they are still paying the price 3 years later, on their way to the third wooden spoon in a row, which for those new to MLS out there is the worst in the league.
That's remarkable.
I didn't
It's
know
truly
that.
remarkable.
They're the worst team in American pro sports. It's not close. It's them and the Buffalo Sabres are the two worst team in America's.
Yeah,
in America pro
I
sports.
think
Are the Sabres that bad right now still?
they're
Good
really
God.
They haven't been
dumpster
in the
fire.
playoffs in, I think, 15 or 16 years.
Is Jack Eichel still there? Well, we don't need to go down the hockey rabbit hole, but still.
the Texans.
I love how quickly
that is
3 degrees of
interesting-
separation
That is
in
an
like 2
interesting
sentences.
rabbit hole there. The
Gosh,
Texans
this show's
might have
electric.
something to say about it, but as far as
yeah.
longevity over the last 3
They
years,
were in a playoff. They were in the playoffs
They
like
should have beat Kansas
3 or 4
City
years ago.
3 years ago, right? But
I'd feel
still.
like, as in terms of right now,
2
but
years ago.
to be on the cusp of your third in a row,
right.
I don't want to say that's maybe ask if that's an MLS record, because I feel like it's probably not with some of the disparity in talent and the gap in the MLS has had at times. Sure, there's been some teams that have just been the worst in I don't know. DC United had a pretty wretched run, maybe they got it 5 years in a row, but I don't know. I'm rambling. They're really, really bad.
They are really bad. They're in the middle of a 9-match losing streak, and it is it's kind of tough for some teams. You look at New England, it's tough to pinpoint one weakness. For FC Cincinnati, it's tough to pinpoint one strength. It really is. This team's defense has allowed more goals than any other team in the league, allowing 64 goals this season. The second worst team, Toronto, has allowed 60. That number has also grown in the last few matches. FCC has allowed 9 goals in the past week after only allowing 4 in the previous 3 matches. So the defense is bad. The offense, also very bad. Near the bottom of the league as well in scoring goals. But guys, the thing that I point back to is October 15th, 2020. That has no relevance to either of you, but I'm about to make it relevant to you and the thousands of people that are listening right now on 104.5 The Zone. FC Cincinnati still beat the MLS champions last year in Columbus. They still beat the team that ended up knocking Nashville SC out and hoisting this trophy at the end of the year. It was their 4th win of the season at the time. It was their first home win of the season at this point in their 18th match of the season. The way they did it, guys, they scored a penalty in the 17th minute, and they scored off a free kick in the 49th minute. They beat Columbus 2-1. At that point, Columbus was 9-4-4. Cincinnati was 4-10-4. It broke a 516-minute goalless streak. But guys, we know from listening to this show, what is the way that teams have beaten Nashville SC and picked points off of Nashville SC this year? Penalties. Cincinnati did it the first game of the season. And set pieces. That is your formula for FCC. 1 penalty, 1 set piece. You could still win this thing 2-1 or 2-0 the way Nashville SC has played recently.
Yeah, and obviously the set piece is a little bit more comfortable to count on. You know you're going to get some opportunities from free kicks from corners. penalties a little bit luck of the draw. No, you're absolutely right. Those have been things that have kind of plagued this team over the course of the season. That being said, if you're Nashville SC, I think you have to think a set piece and a penalty isn't going to be good enough for Cincinnati. Right? You've got to be thinking score 3 goals or more.
Without a doubt.
Team.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a set piece is what did them in on Saturday. Again,
Yeah.
and it wasn't conventional corner kick, free kick that you've seen them give up so many times, but it's an unfortunate handball by Taylor Washington that comes off a set piece, and then a penalty kick, by definition, is a set piece, and that's how Nashville loses 1-0. But I remember we had this conversation a few times during that run that NSC was on, where Leal and Mukhtar and Sapong are making up arguably the best attacking trio in MLS, and we were talking about maybe early, sometime in August, I don't know, Nashville SC peaking at the right time, right? I mean, we were kind of saying that they're getting hot at the right time. Is it unfair to say maybe we were a little premature in that? Because now you've kind of see them hit this dip a little bit, and injuries play into it. Hani Mukhtar's not on the field on Saturday, but you want to see shades of that against Cincinnati this week.
I would say I don't know that I think they started to peak at the right time. I think the problem is that they cooled off at the wrong time, right? Like,
Well, I just think the norm of, or the average of the points you get off a road match is finally cut up to them, which who's been preaching that for the entire season?
right.
And there were results early in the year with the draw after draw after draw that you're saying, individually these are not bad results, but when you zoom out,
Yes.
these are the results that creep up on you late in the year, and maybe we're seeing some of that. But this team is third in the Eastern Conference.
They're in the Eastern Conference.
They're in a home playoff
Seconds
spot.
in their own hands here. So
It's all exactly. It's all still in their own hands.
Exactly. So again, if you're a fan out there, just take a chill pill, man. Like, there's not the sky isn't falling. Is there a chance this team finishes out of a home playoff game? Sure, there is. There is the chance, but
And that would be disappointing.
it would absolutely be disappointing. But if you can kind of just reset your mind, and again, this is what I was trying to say earlier, is I know people the bar goes up in mid-season. You forget about how you felt back in January about this team. Back in January, pretty much nobody was saying they thought this team would be in the running for a home playoff match,
Right.
other than me and you.
Yep.
And we were just saying, hey, look, I think they can do this. Reality would have said, there's probably a pretty high likelihood they won't. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
like, that's the truth of it. So if you can kind of adjust back to that preseason mindset, this team has built. This team has kind of continued where they left off from last season. They're still heading in the right direction. And, all of it's still on the table. Can still grab second place. Hard to go to Orlando and win. You know when they did that? At the end of last season. Right? Like, to finish and get in the playoffs. I think you've just got to kind of trust the process. You hear that in sports all the time. It's not to say Gary isn't flawed. That's not to say we don't have serious questions. We've talked about Akeloba at length on this show. Why isn't he getting more minutes? What is the deal? We can beat that dead horse more if that's what people want to hear, but like it's been talked about.
But we've kind of gotten at least a little bit of an answer there, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, at the
More
end of the
than we
day,
had.
you saw 60 minutes of it the other day.
We got what we've been asking for.
Was he
as
much
far as
better
his
than Abu
chance.
Dunladi?
Yeah.
No.
Well, he touched the ball 21 times in 61 minutes.
So it's like the when Ben phrased it, right? I mean, are you going to keep putting him out there to wait for it to happen, or are you going to continue to leave him on the bench for your informed Hani Mukhtar, who's challenging for the MVP?
And I think what Ben said nailed it. If this team has second place locked up, it's one thing.
Yeah.
You can sit CJ, you let this guy try to find some form, but they don't. And so now here's the counter argument to that Donald Hull, our friend from Paradise Pod, had to say is, we're in a group chat and he's kind of talking like at the end of the day, no one's scoring the goals right now.
No.
Like CJ's not anymore. Rios, I think, has 1 and 1 assist. So, okay, like you're telling me he's not good enough. He's not contributing, but really no one is other than Hani right now. So, I mean, okay, if no one's going to score goals, shouldn't we try to get the guy who can score more going? And look, there's absolutely some, and Ben nailed it. It's chicken and egg. What do you do?
Yeah.
And Gary's pretty clear on what he's doing.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, he's the guy who gets paid, but he's the guy who's going to pay the piper too if it doesn't play out the right way. So all the risk is in his hands, and he's managed it the way he's doing it.
Since September the 22nd, over the last 6 games, Nashville SC has scored 3 times. I remember going through those goals with you guys, and one of the concerns I had, I believe 2 weeks ago on this show, was that this team had become too reliant on set pieces to score. That's how they won at Montreal. That's how they scored a couple of those first goals against Inter Miami on the Walker Zimmerman dunking on a guy goal. which, again, was just horrific goalkeeping on about half of those goals in that 5-1 win. I mean, even that, to me, was not as much about Nashville as it was Miami just being absolutely horrible. But, guys, look, the point of the matter is that as bad as this team can look for stretches at a time when they're rotating the squad, they don't have the same attacking momentum. This team, when healthy and when playing at home, I'm still going to take them every single time, regardless of who they're playing against, in a playoff style of game.
Well, and that's what Weeby over on Extra Time said just the other day, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Said that in the
Great
podcast.
lines.
Yeah. He said I think they had a little topic was who do you want to face the least in the playoffs? And the answer was a healthy Nashville.
Yeah.
And it's hard to agree. Now, I think as a guy who believes in momentum, and the statisticians out there would say I'm stupid for that, but I do agree, like Lucas said, they've lost a little bit of how they looked, some of that kind of luster they had.
Is a valid answer.
Atlanta's a very valid answer. They've got the talent for sure. But yeah, no, I agree. With a healthy Lovitz, with a healthy Mukhtar, with a healthy Rios, I think this is a very, very good team, going to be very hard to beat.
Gosh, I'm still old enough to remember when people compared Nashville SC started MLS to FC Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Like, can we just reflect on
take.
that? When they had Anibal Godoy, when they paid as much allocation money as they did for Walker Zimmerman. Like,
You mean like before even the first game?
Yeah, right.
I think it was
Taylor
after-
Twellman
it was
the guy beating that drum more than
Doyle,
anybody.
too. After the Godoy signing, people kind of freaked out about it.
Look, and going back to this, and this is roster building 101 in MLS, because roster building in MLS is the oddest, most unique roster building of any sport.
You should be able to major in it.
I mean, we've been here talking about MLS roster building for 3 years, and I still have no clue, like half of it.
We still just text Ben.
No, yes.
Cam.
Text
Like,
Ben, text Wes.
It's like, what is more complicated, like the U.S. tax code or MLS tax code? I don't know.
Everything's so much harder than it needs to be.
Which,
It's
by
almost-
the way,
it's
we
almost
have
one of the-
covered Jack Eichel to the U.S. tax code on today's Nashville Soccer Show.
It's almost one of the charming things about MLS is the way they
It
just
is,
make
yeah.
everything so much harder than it needs to
Than it
be.
needs
It's just
to be.
hilarious.
The Venn diagram of charming things about MLS and charming things about the Nashville Soccer Show. It's a circle. It's a circle. Come hang in 104.5 The Zone TV. Praise us. That way we don't have to just praise us over the course of this show. No, but like my point originally was going to be, before I got off track in the U.S. tax code, was that roster building MLS 101 is that you pay premium prices when you have a premium amount of allocation money. So, like, of course you're going to have to pay more for Anibal Godoy when everyone in MLS knows that you have more money to start with because you're starting from scratch. Like, I guess there are not a lot of economics
also,
majors. And
what became very
MLS
apparent
Twitter.
like a month later was there was kind of a gentleman's agreement with Dax. You knew you were getting that for less money. And so it all just played out fine. But people just like to make a big deal. And here we go. Cincinnati, 2 years after that, is still the worst team in professional sports, like you said earlier. So
I'm very comfortable with that take.
Yeah.
Very comfortable.
Yeah, in American professional sports, certainly.
I mean, it's them and the Bengals.
The Bengals are rolling right
talking-
now.
no,
boy.
I mean
My
the last
God.
2 years.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
yeah,
if you're
right.
thinking, like, as long as FCC has been a team, you could make the case that the worst pro team in soccer and football,
There's got to be
which is
somebody
2/3
in
of
the
their
NBA
sports.
that bad,
I'm
right?
telling you, there's not, like, the Sixers, like, what, 7 or 8 years ago?
Sure, they were bad.
Was the equivalent. But at least they were tanking for draft picks, and, like, tanking for draft picks, not a great way to win an MLS.
Right now, it's the Texans, and I think it will be for another couple years.
Oh, yeah, the Texans are in
But
serious
they beat the
trouble.
Jags by, like, 30.
Yeah, well, the Jags could argue for that
I mean, like,
title over the last
like,
couple
if anything,
years, too.
if it's anyone in the AFC South that's challenging Cincy with this, I think it's Jacksonville.
With the Jags went 1-16, 1-15 last year.
Yeah, they
and,
lost
and they've
19 in a
and
row.
They've won
Yeah.
one now.
And the
They
Jags
beat Miami.
they have a quarterback, right? They have like
I think
pieces,
they have a quarterback.
subtle pieces.
They
I
have
think
a
they've got a
quarterback
quarterback.
that's
And a quarterback
ruining
and a
the-
running back. Yeah.
The Texans is just an empty pit of misery right now. There's literally nothing for fans to be
Pit of
optimistic
misery.
about.
I can't hear the pit of misery.
Speaking of
thing
pit of
without
misery,
hearing that
are we
commercial.
starting United now?
Please,
We
let's
can do it after the break, I guess, right?
No, let's. I mean,
I went off on United
You take
fans
the
last
rails.
week. I went
Good
off
show.
on United fans last week. I'm not going to repeat the word
most
again.
shows. we
Um,
do.
and what did I say last week? I said
I don't know what I
they're
said yesterday.
gonna poo-poo Conte because they have this fancy little notion in their
Oh,
head
yes.
of what United are supposed to be. And what has happened this week? The higher-ups think he's another Mourinho, which is insane anyways, right? As a guy who loves Jose
That's
Mourinho.
a wild
it's
thing for
like,
them to say.
I mean, it's like maybe Mourinho in 15 years for like the guy just dominated Serie A last year, a league with some of the best players in the world, mind you. And, I mean, he's won everything there is to win everywhere. Won with Italy. I mean,
with Chelsea.
Yeah.
He's won with Chelsea. Like the last time Mourinho won that much with a team in the Premier League, he was also at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Right. And that Chelsea team, he takes Victor Moses and almost gets him in the Premier League's best 11 of the year at a wingback. Like,
Marcos Alonso was like class on grass.
Saying, man. Like
he started the Juventus run of domination.
And yes, Lucas, you know it better than anybody. Is it going to end terribly? Of course. But who cares? Go win.
But I agree with
Ronaldo.
you. But I don't know if he is that mid-season addition that works, right? Because it's so often the clash of getting his guys, and I think he's the type of guy that it's tough to put him in mid-season in this situation, and then it has the potential to go wrong right off the bat, rather than hiring him at the end of a season and allowing him to get things started up. I don't know. I have a hard time seeing him stepping into that situation, which doesn't seem like all sides are on the same page at the top of it. In that working right off the bat. He's an excellent manager, but I think United have often gone the route of Tennessee football, right? Like hiring the opposite of whoever your last guy was.
I'm trying to find this
We've
tweet.
hit for the cycle on great
have.
analogies to MLS and soccer today.
We're swinging around.
I'm really proud of us.
Yeah, this is
really
impressive.
I'm trying to find this great tweet that I saw earlier about Manchester United.
I thought you were going to say, I'm trying to find this great tweet that I sent.
No,
earlier.
that I sent, yeah.
And you're humble, too.
It
It's
does
great.
sound like me. Oh, that does sound like me. Dang. Oh, here we go. Liam Twoney, who covers Chelsea for The Athletic. Hey, if senior people at United have doubts about Conte's fit, is it because of his abrasiveness or because they're uncomfortable with being challenged by someone with the highest standards? What even is the culture United are trying to preserve? In Fergie's time, it was winning. And it's like, yeah, that's it. What are you trying to keep here? Yeah. Because I said this to our buddy Andy earlier, and Will, this is not a dig at you earlier either.
Here we go.
United are very close to on the Arsenal track.
Oh, God.
They are, man.
I'm still mad at you for tweeting that
the only likable Arsenal
fan. And then I respond to you and you say, oh, yeah, Andy's cool, too. I haven't forgiven you for that yet.
Maybe we've been talking about Arsenal as the Tennessee football of the Premier League. Maybe he's Man United.
Oh, it's Arsenal, trust me. United has won a title this decade.
Yeah, 2012 was the last one?
Yeah.
So next year it's 10 years. Right.
I've gone through the cycles of everything.
And this is different, though. Tennessee was never the Yankees, right?
Right.
This is if the Yankees become...
It's Alabama pre-Saban. That's
sure.
what United
Yeah, that's
is
what
right
it is.
now.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
Alabama
that's exactly
pre-Saban.
what it is.
They go from being really good for a little while. They go through about 8 to 10 years of being really bad before they get the guy, whoever that guy is.
And I still think, and I say this as a Chelsea, I hate Manchester United. Manchester United has all of the tools to be the best team in England and one of the best teams in the world every single year. Yeah. And they're nowhere close right now.
You know when the last time an English manager won the English top flight was?
Oh, hang on. Give me a ballpark.
Because I'll give you time because
I have no idea.
I feel like Manchester United, their criteria for a coach is, could we envision them wearing a blazer with the Manchester United logo, and does it look right? That's the decision they make when they try to hire a manager. They're going to say, oh, that's a United man wearing the crest on his United suit. Oh, David Moyes, yes, a good United Kingdom lad. That's the guy. Jose Mourinho even. He had the class of Madrid and everything he'd done then. Oh, yeah, that's... Last time an English manager won the league.
Let me guess. Brian Clough.
No.
Was it in that era? It wasn't even.
I don't know what era that was. I'm not going to lie to you.
That's not even I don't even.
You got to remember that for a while there, it was for Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger every year.
Has an English manager ever won the Premier League? As in 1992 and onward?
91.
91,
right?
92, whenever it was. Has an English manager ever? I don't even think an English. No.
So none of those that Newcastle team. Who was that manager?
The last English manager to win the English top flight was 91 to 92 with Leeds United.
Wow.
Howard Wilkinson. Starting in 92 to 93, that's when Sir Alex Ferguson won his first of 2 in a row in 1992. and then it was Ferguson, Dalglish, and Wenger
That's
for
amazing.
the next literally until Jose Mourinho in 2004.
And here's the other thing
Literally.
with United is they've got bigger issues than just manager. Like they need a director of football. Like they have to have cohesive decision making in regards to what happens on the field.
Yeah.
You look at I mean, there's been some good signings, but I don't think anyone has a higher net transfer spend than, a higher transfer spend than United since Ole took over. Like they're spending the money, they're just spending it terribly.
It's the same thing that's happened to Barcelona, that you can have the deepest pockets in all of world football, but when you make so many bad investments, those still eventually catch up to you.
Right. Even for,
Alex Telles catches up to you. I mean, Harry Maguire still kind of catches up to you.
Yeah.
And the guy can't stay on the pitch now for a run of games. And then you've got Lindelof and Eric Bailly back in. Like,
and
a team that wins the Premier League is not starting Lindelof and Bailly for a stretch of games.
Bailly's another guy who can't stay healthy.
Right.
I mean, and I thought he could have been a great defender in the Premier League.
Sure.
But it's tough, man. I don't know. It's a tough league, and this is better than anybody will. Once it passes you by, it's really hard to get back there. And I think it's pretty dang close to passing them by.
Arsene Wenger said when he left, "You're going to miss me when I'm gone." I laughed at the time. Confirmed missed him when now that he's gone. When we come back, we'll run through some of the top games around the Premier League this weekend. Take a look around the biggest matches in Europe. And I will give Lucas a Milan minute on his birthday to finish off the show. We will give him as much. I know I'm not going to give him as much time as he needs because it's going to be more entertaining if we give him a time limit. We'll give him 90 seconds to go as deep into Milan as he wants to. We're going to do that next. Nashville Soccer Show, 104.5 The Zone.
Every sack and Big Titans defensive play happens with us.
Sack! Harold Landry!
Your home for every Titans game is 104.5 The Zone.
on the Zone. Fat Bottom Brewery. I enjoyed, for the first time in way too long, last Wednesday, a pitch invasion inside the friendly confines of Nissan Stadium. We love our partners, Davey and Fat Bottom. The things they do for Nashville soccer fans. They are the official beer of the team, and they are our headquarters for all things Nashville SC in and outside of the stadium.
Absolutely right. I mean, just great partners. Couldn't be happier to be partnering up with them this season and hopefully heading in the next season. And it's what we drink every game, all game. So
Go ahead and
probably too many, honestly.
That's fair. Add that to your grocery list for tomorrow as you get ready for Nashville SC and FC Cincinnati. And if you're an FC Cincinnati fan listening to this, you might be clinching the worst record in the league for the third straight year, so you might want to pick some up too. Numb the pain a little bit. Not that I'm recommending that, but might help. All right, Lucas, Milan and Torino. What you got for us?
Is this your birthday gift to me?
This is my birthday gift to you. I'm sorry I didn't get you cookies like Buck did. But, Lucas, I'm giving you the floor as in-depth of analysis as you would like to give. I'm going to sit here and watch the Braves, and I will be listening intently, but I'll be watching the Braves, and I'm going to shut up and let you talk about it.
No need to go nuts. Top of the table. Milan's top of the table.
Really? I didn't know that, actually.
Today's win, the 3 points on an Olivier Giroud 14th minute.
Oh.
Poke in. The 1-0 win over Torino puts them top of the table, 28 points. Napoli in second on 25. Roma, Davey, I believe, in fourth.
Yeah, they're dropping,
They're starting to hit
now.
some speed bumps.
Yeah.
Wow.
Two massive games coming up. That's actually Milan's next opponent is Roma, and then Inter, and then Fiorentina. So it's a massive
Roma got
games.
beat the other day, 6-1 by a team I'd never heard of in my life.
Yeah,
like
saw that.
Bloma Glipt or
In Europe,
something.
yeah, that was rough. So
insane.
That was crazy.
the Mourinho experiment is
the full experience.
It's right on track.
The full experience, man.
But they're just winning banged up. They're winning. Zlatan Ibrahimovic finally came back over the weekend. By the way, first time in forever that I've seen a team go down to 9 men was Milan against Bologna on Saturday. That was fun to watch. They went down to 10 men. Milan had a 2-0 lead at halftime. Bologna scores 2 quick goals out of the break. I'm thinking they're going to blow it. Then they get a second red, and they score 2 more, including Ibrahimovic at 40 years old scoring, which, by the way, if he scores in Milan's next Champions League game, oldest goal scorer in Champions League history
man.
as he comes back from injury. But they're winning banged up. They're still without a lot of guys. Brahim Diaz, central attacking midfielder, one of the best in Italy, coming off of COVID. And they're winning, missing so many key pieces. Ante Rebic still hurt. Rafael Leao coming along really, really nicely. And this team is laying egg after egg in Champions League. Oh, that might not be fair. They've had some red cards at untimely moments that have ruined good performances. But regardless,
Tough
they're
group
over
there too, though.
really tough group.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're 0-3. They've lost all 3 games against Liverpool and they have Porto again next. But look, last season Milan was top of the table around this time and after Christmas time, but it was still, they don't have the depth.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think they have the depth because they're showing me they have the depth because they're winning.
Even if they don't have the depth, the question is, does anybody else have the depth either, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Conte clashing with the management at Inter might be the best thing to ever happen to Milan.
Yep.
Juventus is, the Allegri magic has not revived them the way they're doing the same things they were doing under Pirlo.
And a lot of issues with that roster too, man.
Yeah, and Allegri's making decisions that, as far as subs and whatnot, putting guys on late that if Pirlo made, it would be started. Look, he's not experienced. Why is he making this move?
You're exactly
well, Allegri's doing all the same things. So it's not working for them. It seems like their reign is finally over. Napoli is the other contender right now. It's Milan and Napoli with Inter kind of making noise.
Who's managing Napoli now?
Oh, God. They just fired Gattuso. Who did they hire? Spalletti?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, Spalletti.
I was today years old when I learned that was a person. I'm sorry.
Luciano Spalletti. Former manager of Inter for quite a while.
That was great. I enjoyed the Milan match.
Yes, thank you
make
for
this
that.
a weekly
I appreciate
occurrence,
it.
of course.
Top of the table.
Davey, Chelsea gets through to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup.
And
Very, very closely.
Kefa, what a legend in the shootout, bro.
Yes, always been adored by Chelsea fans.
Yeah, always been a door.
Always rated the lad.
Arsenal gets a win today as well.
Yeah,
beats Leeds United.
They got the same issue as Nashville SC. Whenever they score, it's on corner kicks and set pieces.
Yeah,
Every single
exactly
time.
Right. Interested to see West Ham City tomorrow. That'll be a good one.
Will be. Arsenal Leicester early Friday morning. Good way to start a high school football game day for me and Luke.